Thank you very much for joining us on News Desk. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amano. This morning, we'll bring you an update on the baby that got lost, perhaps not lost, got burnt after it died when its mother delivered it at the Acquah Teaching Hospital in the Ashanti region. We understand the Zongo community have besieged the hospital. We'll join our correspondent who's there for us, and he'll bring us up to speed what is happening. Also, it's day 2 of the NPP's vetting of his contenders for the national executive positions. Would go to the headquarters of the NPP as well, and would bring ourselves up to speed what is happening there. Did you also know that when radio started, the first private radio station was actually set up by Dr. Charles Brobe? And so we'll talk to him as we mark World Radio Day as to how far radio has come. You don't want to miss that conversation. What is the plant breeders bill? What does it contain? What is it, a monster or an angel that will help us produce some food with the growing numbers of people we have on the earth? It's non-stop, and we'll find out exactly what the plant breeders bill is. Don't forget, you can share your comments and thoughts with me on any of the issues we are discussing this morning on our social media platforms. Joynews on TV on Facebook, on my personal page on Facebook, Kemini Amano. Or I tweet at Kemini or at Joynews on TV. I'll be glad to share your thoughts with the rest of us in the community. In the meantime, let's go to the Ashanti region. And you recall that Sueba had lost her baby. She couldn't find her baby after she delivered it. In fact, the nurses on duty that day had told her that her baby had died. She demanded to see the body of her baby. That too was pretty difficult for the nurses to do. Then we heard that the baby had been swept away by one cleaner instead of a mortuary staff. Okay, so where is the rubbish where my baby is supposedly is? And we are told that it was burnt. Yet we couldn't find any charred body of a baby. Now we understand that the Zongo community have besieged the hospital. We'll find out from Mohammed Nuruddin, who is Joynews correspondent in the area, for a quick update on exactly what they are there to do. Hello, Nuruddin.
Hello, Kevin.
Right, so what's been happening at the Acquah Teaching Hospital today?
Well, Kevin, this morning around 8, the youth from Ababu stormed the hospital demanding the body of the baby, dead or alive. And in fact, when you come to the hospital this morning, nurses were running and workers there were running because they didn't know what was going to happen. But the youth were only demanding for the body of the baby, and they are saying that the hospital should produce a nurse who was on duty at the time the baby delivered, so that they would ask him where the baby is. So police from the regional police command has to intervene to calm the situation. So as I'm speaking now, 3 of the youth have been arrested and they are in police custody at the regional command.
Why were the nurses running? Were the young people armed?
Huh?
I'm asking why the nurses were running.
Yeah, about 40 of them stormed the hospital, about 40 of them, and actually they didn't know what would happen. So they were running, they were running, but the youth were saying they only they needed them to use the nurse who was in charge at the time the woman delivered, and that was why they stormed the hospital. They want to question her and find out where the baby is, the body of the baby is, whether dead or alive. So that was why they stormed there. But as I'm speaking now, some of them are at the central police station, and they want to hear what the police will say. And we were asking them whether this will be the end of their action, because they told us already that Monday they will embark a peaceful demonstration. They're saying after today they will get us informed whether the Monday's demonstration will come on or not.
I see. So what did hospital authorities, I mean, besides the police coming there to arrest some of the youth leaders, how about the hospital?
The line is breaking.
Well, I'm asking about the hospital authorities. What have they been saying about what these young Zongo people did?
Well, the defense, they haven't spoken on the matter yet. They haven't spoken on the matter yet.
I see. And so at the police station, exactly what do they hope to do? Are they going to charge them for causing some sort of mayhem?
You're asking whether they are going to charge them?
Yes. You told me that the police had arrested 3 of them.
Yes.
And I'm asking, what next? What do the police intend to do with them?
Well, the police they were saying that they have to go to the police. They say the case is currently with the police, so they would have to come to the police station and so that they will give them some explanation. But as whether they will be they are going to charge them, we are going to check on that from the police and then get informed.
I see. Let's understand this. Did they cause any disturbance in the hospital?
I mean, there is some noise.
I'm asking if they caused any disturbance in the hospital. Yes. Did they cause any disturbances in the hospital?
You're asking whether they are still at the hospital?
No, did they cause any chaos in the hospital?
That means?
Nuruddin is unable to understand me. He tells me the line is patchy. We'll get back to him, but that is the latest on the situation. The fact that a group of young persons from the Zongo community besieged the hospital. We understand that 3 of them have been picked up by the police. As to what will happen, we'll bring you an update on it before the program ends. But let's talk about radio now. Today, Thursday, February 13, 2014, is World Radio Day, and the day is used to raise awareness about the importance of radio, facilitate access to information through radio, and enhance networking among broadcasters. It was approved in 2011 and the first celebration took place in 2012. The theme for this year is gender equality in radio. Women reporters get less airtime and senior executive positions than men. Here in Ghana, the first person to set up a private radio station in the country, Dr. Charles Brobe, also known as Tarzan, has issued a statement saluting some individuals who contributed in various ways to see this move take off. According to him, the IMCG and Radio I take the opportunity of the World Radio Day 2014 to salute persons like Victor Newman, Kweku Edu-Jemfiopoku, Alfred Teddy Kunu, Tom Rekubrobe, Anthony Akoto Ampao, Dr. William Coleman, Nana Akufo-Addo, John Dechem Atefwa, and Albert Kandapa, Big J Apia. Ghana owes a big thank you to you, according to the statement, for your foresight and sacrifice that made real today's abundance of radio stations. Dr. Rekubrobe, well, he started the first radio station in Ghana, and we'll talk to him in a bit. We'll talk to Dr. Rekubrobe in a bit and find out how radio has changed over the years. And I'm surprised. I had no idea. Right. But let's find out how radio's deepened democracy in Ghana. Take a listen to this.
Good morning to you, Black Eye.
Hello, Mama V. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. And it's World Radio Day today, so happy World Radio Day. It's your day.
Yeah, it is our day, Mama V, and I feel so happy. This morning when I woke up and I was watching BBC, I saw World Radio Day. I said, yeah, today is our day. So you know, I'm taking this day as a special day because I've been in radio since 2004. So should we say about 10 years now?
Wow, congratulations. Yeah. But where do you see radio in the next decade?
Big. 10 years back, there was no, should I say, competition. Or even if there was, the competition was small. 10 years down the lane, the competition has become very big. And 10 years from now, is going to be keener?
World Radio Day, I think it's an important day. Considering the work that we do, there should be opportunity every now and again for us to take stock of our performance, the kinds of issues we tackle on our various programs, and whether or not we're able to shape national discourse and influence change and ensure that people in public office are able to account for their stewardship. So it's a unique opportunity for us to periodically reflect on how well we're doing and whether there's a need for a reform in terms of the kinds of things that we put out on the radio and how we conduct our affairs.
The NCA, in terms of categorization, I mean, we have the public radio, which is a state broadcaster. We have the commercial. This time we have a campus and then community, which means that we are a bit all different, but I think that we complement each other. Community radio is different because, one, we are non-profit, and also it's mainly to give voice to the voiceless. The way of doing things is a bit different in the sense that we engage communities and we allow communities to actually develop the ideas for programming, and the communities themselves use their own voice, the authentic voices, in expressing their concerns and their values. So that's what it is. At the moment, as I mentioned, we have 12 on-air stations, and each station is unique in itself. So they operate as independent radio stations, and therefore they have their own systems of generating their own income. But then we actually work together in the sense that we rely more on donor funding, and we come together, build ideas, and put together bids or proposals. And when we win the bid, depending on what we stated to do within the proposal, each station is allocated his funding to do the work. So let me say that apart from the internal generated resources from individual stations, the network itself also rely on some membership dues and also on donor funding. We wish that we had more frequencies because we have a number of initiatives, and we thought that by now community radio would have grown in number to do the kind of work we're doing. In fact, we are complementing local governments.
Right, and some of you have been sharing your thoughts already on World Radio Day. We've been asking you how radio has changed your life, how it's impacted your life in several aspects of your life. And Everson Baden says it's done a lot, but also a lot too hasn't been done yet, and it has a lot of impact in my life as a youth. Sadiq Jr. says, since I was a child, listening to radio inspired me a lot. N.S. Ajiman says, radio has brought true freedom to the common man. Political agenda is informed, reformed, and shaped by radio. But the overkills must be checked. Antonio de Karachi says, new amazing experience with vivid information, wide world, thanks to the inventors' good work. Bonti Benjamin says, listening to radio gives me the confidence that there is hope for the future. Dagbe Yelyeni Eugenson says, I have been listening to radio since my childhood, and it's very encouraging and inspiring. Caleb Asiwome says, listening to radio has really imparted a great knowledge in me, giving me also sense of humor and mature mind into marriage issues. I see, and he's from Aboba FM. Afram Sessi says, radio is still one of the best gadgets for communication. I listen to Joy FM by the help of my radio. Hilda Hamilton says, it's been good. GS Dos Santos says, superb, especially Joy News. Thank you very much. And Kadiri Dauda says, it's impacted his life a lot. Amidu Antampore says, the radio has always been my info updates ever since I started listening to the FM stations, especially Joy. Ike Kakra Aban says, it's been so amazing. Nettie Cyrus Noah says, radio is me and I am radio. My life has become splendid because of radio, particularly Joy FM. I'm glad I've grown to love radio so much, and it has made me who I am today. Thanks to so much to multimedia. Ishmael Imran says informative and educative, but it depends on the integrity of the station you're listening to. Some radio stations can be annoying. Ayelgum Sylvester says tremendously, particularly educative and informative. Well, those are your thoughts you shared with me on Joynews on TV, on Facebook. Keep them coming in, and I'll share them with the rest of us in the community. In the meantime, don't go away. I'll be right back. We'll talk to Radio Eyes, Charles Rikurobe. You're welcome back to News Desk. And Parliamentary Committee on Legal Constitution and the Parliamentary Affairs on Tuesday held a press conference to explain the Plant Breeders Bill. The bill, among others, is intended to protect the intellectual properties of individuals engaged in the production of modified varieties of agro-products, which also includes genetically modified organisms or foods. According to those pushing for the bill, which includes some scientists, innovation, creativity, and improved yield production will be enhanced following its approval. Let's recap excerpts of those discussions.
What this bill sought to do is to continue the efforts of government to create the environment. The impression is being created as if we are just here. We don't know anything, that people are coming, to do things for us. Any scientist who leaves my institute gets a job in an international organization. That shows the quality of the scientists we have in Ghana. Now, to the question. Conventional breeding, as somebody will tell me, most of the activities are done in the field. But when it comes to GM, you may have to do some of the activities in the lab. Now, Honorable Babinze has really used technical terms. What breeding is about is, maybe you take me and we are almost alike. Or maybe somebody who is thin. I'm slightly, so you want this trait in this person. So what we do is, we cross, like maybe myself and my wife. My wife is short, I am tall. And you see, human beings are such that tall people, when somebody is tall, he wants to marry somebody who is medium, so that they don't bring up, very huge. That is all that breeding is about. This water, this bottle lacks maybe a trait, but it has other traits that are desirable. This one is not very good, but it has the trait that is lacking in this. So we cross and then come up with maybe this. This has combined the beneficial traits from here and there. But of course, in the process of crossing, I have carried, there are some genes that have been brought here. And conventional breeding, I have to do what we call back crossing. So I keep on, crossing to get rid of the material or the genes that I do not like. And that takes a lot of time.
Yeah. So Prof, I think we've gotten the relationship between genetic modification and traditional plant breeding.
Yeah.
Essentially, the product of the two processes would be improved variety of any crop.
Yeah.
The only difference is that this is through natural means, takes a very long period, and this is through a scientific means.
So the other one is also...
That's also scientific, okay. The protocols are...
Maybe this one has to do, you spend more time in the lab.
You spend more time in the lab, is that okay? So the two are all scientific processes with the appropriate protocols. Except that this one involves more work in the lab and this other one involves more work in the field, even though ultimately both varieties are tested in the field to confirm for quality and safety. And this process is regulated by another act of parliament that has been passed already. Is that okay? That is the Biosafety Act of 2011.
So what we are doing...
Yes, so let me get this. So if anybody is concerned about the effects and implications of genetic modification of plant varieties, that person should rather be looking at the Biosafety Act and not this particular act. All that this act does is when you have gone through all the processes that are prescribed under the Biosafety Act and you have produced a plant variety, this act kicks in to provide the process for protecting your rights as the producer of that variety. Is that it? So I want to ask the civil society organizations who are in this room if they have any problem with this development.
Right, so that was the conversation back then, and I have with me Dr. David Percy. Dr. David Percy is a member of the Food Sovereignty Ghana, and he's also an activist against GMOs, and we'll speak.
Not an activist against GMOs.
I see. We'll speak to Dr. Percy in a bit, but you heard them. It is not about the Plant Breeders Bill. It's about the Biosafety Act instead.
No. I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors that's going on. It's important that we understand what's at stake. What's at stake is the Plant Breeders Bill. And the issue is not about the science. What methods of breeding, what tools you use, which is where GMOs come in. It's about intellectual property rights. It's about whether plant breeding is privatized or remains a public good as it currently is in our country. That is the issue.
So you don't have a problem with whether or not they move the genes of plant A into plant B and then form something else?
A problem might exist there, but that is not the central issue. It's a diversion. The central issue is that scientists, private individuals, working in publicly financed and supported institutions are insisting that they are suffering injury because the products of their labor are being used by others for profit.
Is that wrong?
Well,
I'm a scientist. I go into my lab. I come up with something
we're talking about property rights. You're working for Multi-TV. You've come up with a concept. It's become a program. If you exit Multi-TV, even whilst you're here, that concept remains a property of Multi-TV. It's a well-established principle.
I don't get how the two relate. Let's try and relate to the two.
We're talking about property rights. I'm saying that you are an intellectual, creative person. You're working in television. You develop a program concept. It is launched. It is a property of Multi-TV.
I see. But if I was able to register that, then it's mine. Multi-TV can't use even if I left.
No, but I'm saying that ordinarily, under the terms of your contract, whatever you develop while you're an employee of Multi-TV, with their facilities, is their property. So Ghanaian scientists are saying that there have been hundreds of varieties that have been developed, okay, involving the scientific community in Ghana, wholly publicly supported. 4 institutions under the CSIR, that is Savannah Agricultural Research Institute, the Crop Research Institute, the Biotechnology and Nuclear Agric Research at Kwabenya, Atomic Research, the Plant Genetic Resources Research Institute at Bonso, plus the 3 universities, University of Ghana, University of Science and Technology, University of Cape Coast. All these are public institutions. The scientists there, the breeders there, they're talking of no more than several dozen people, are all engaged by the taxpayer, paid by the taxpayer, provided facilities by the taxpayer. The varieties that have been produced over the last several decades, okay, are a public good. Yes.
Perhaps maybe those that are produced with, because I went through the bill. It isn't just Ghanaian scientists who can actually. No. And so maybe those that are produced by our scientists will belong to us. Maybe
Ghana.
CSIR.
Our focus is Ghana and our sovereignty in our issues, control of our food. That is what we're talking about.
I understand that.
Good.
But what I'm saying is that it is not only Ghanaian scientists who can apply for those rights in Ghana. If you're resident in Ghana, if you're foreigner, you could also do that.
Yes.
Right. And so maybe the CSIRs may not be owning that. It would belong to Ghana, won't it?
No. No. Right inside the bill is a provision that puts the rights of the plant breeder over and above anything that Ghana as a republic can do. It ousts the authority of parliament. It ousts the authority of our president. That is, once a plant breeder's bill a right is granted, that right is independent of us as a country. Now, so this is just a device to open up our food systems and hand over control. You can even see from the language that this thing was not drafted by Ghanaians. The language suggests.
I see.
I'll read the relevant. Maybe you should even read it.
We'll come back to that. But let's take an SOT where there's an elaboration on what the plant breeders bill is.
Essentially, derived variety is you have come up with this variety, and somebody wants to add maybe something. What the bill is saying is that if I have spent effort, I have used my intellect to come up with this. So if you are adding anything to it, either through these techniques that have been applied, you need my approval. And, you know, breeding depends on the availability of diversity. And those mutants and this and that are all avenues of creating diversity. In fact, if there's a problem and the genetic bank in Ghana doesn't have any gene, we may have to, maybe go to another country. Breeders will also network. So what that is saying is that in case somebody, and if you go through that route, then you may have to go through the biosafety. That is all that the bill is saying.
The point I'm making is that genetic engineering.
Genetic, as I'm saying, is a tool. It's a tool.
It has no connection with GMOs. Is that the argument we are making?
No.
Genetic engineering has no connection with GMOs.
That is not the argument. What the bill is saying is that these are processes A, B, C, D. If you are going to modify the variety that I have bred using any of these techniques.
Look, I understand what you're saying. The point I'm trying to make is that there's an attempt to delink that from GMOs.
Yes.
The bill is not specifically about GMOs. It's about intellectual property rights, people having the right. But I'm saying that inside that right, it covers genetic engineering, which covers GMOs.
Okay, let me just explain.
The little that I've read on GMOs and all, and what the law seeks to protect is to protect the rights of breeders. Whoever comes out with a GMO, I mean genetically defined product. I mean, you choose one plant and the other, and through biochemical stuff, you are able to generate another plant out of it, which people consume. All over the world, there are concerns about the consumption of GMO products. And I don't think that as a country, we need this at this time. Countries that generate these things are countries that, excuse me, today have food supply problems and how to grow foods in their various countries. And so they do all these things to be able to feed their people. I don't think Ghana has a food security problem. We have a lot of our foodstuffs being stuck in our villages, and the problem is transportation from the villages to the cities for consumption. And so as a member, we've opened our doors to all the concerns that are being raised, and I believe that we'll look at it again, because there are a lot of side effects that comes with all these chemicals that we have in our products. And my major concern is the protection of our local farmers. The law is seeking to protect breeders. How many of our local farmers can do this, invention, go through this invention, go to the lab and try and merge plants to be able to produce one, to claim intellectual property right, that this product belongs to me. And so for anybody to be able to grow that product, you have to go to the main originator of that product. And you have to use GMO products, you have to use fertilizers produced by them.
What this bill sought to do is to continue the efforts of government to create the environment that can incentivize Ghanaians to produce locally and not depend on foreign production. When we're talking about productivity, we're not talking only about putting materials together and churning out a commodity. We are also talking about exercising our minds, our brains. We're talking about creativity. We're talking about innovation. And so these are the kind of bills which are called trade-related intellectual property laws, which allow individuals to create, to innovate something different, something that can surmount the current challenges or future challenges in the subject area. And so that is what this bill is about. And this bill is specifically focusing on plant breeding. Already in Ghana, plant breeding is ongoing, and Ghanaians are consuming the products of plant breeding.
Right, and so I still have with me Dr. David Percy, who is a member of Food Sovereignty Ghana here in the studio. So, Doc, we've listened to the soundbite, but we ended our conversation where you were explaining why, scientists will use our resources, and they want to register.
I'm saying that they are laying that as a false base. It's a false premise on the basis of which they then go on to make this request. Okay, I'm saying that first to begin with, plant breeding in Ghana is wholly public. It is carried out by scientists employed by us, paid by us, provided facilities by us. Over the last several decades, they've developed many varieties that have been available to farmers in this country. Okay? Plant breeding and the products, publicly controlled plant breeding and the products that goes to farmers constitutes one of the most cost-effective support that we offer to agriculture. It's the most effective subsidy to agriculture. Okay? And it should remain so.
And so your concern with that is the fact that some scientists will go and register.
No. I'm saying that Ghanaian scientists employed by us, paid by us, using our facilities, are claiming that they are suffering injury because what they have produced, they are not benefiting from, which is false. What they are producing is the property of the taxpayer. And it is public policy that those things should go almost free to food producers as a support to agriculture. Okay? In the same way that, for instance, the taxpayer supports the military, or supports the police, or supports the provision of roads. You understand what I'm saying? Or the fire service. The fire service is supported through our taxes. When there's a fire here and you call them, they don't demand to be paid before they show up. I hope you understand this thing. So that is a public good. Okay? And plant breeding is a public good in this country. And so it is in many countries. Now the issue is that with the, I mean, this thing has its roots in the US, where agriculture has been industrialized, okay? And where plant breeding has been privatized, okay? And basically you have companies in the US, in agribusiness, in seed, in fertilizer, in pesticides, okay, looking to extend their control globally over food, okay? Because all intelligent people know that if you control people's food, you control them, okay?
I see.
And it is this push which is being resisted by many countries, okay? Some are using the issues of public safety and health because, in principle, they are not against privatization. I hope I'm making the point right, that the people in the EU, the people in Japan, okay, they're also industrialized countries. They also have plant breeding, mostly public, okay? Although there is private business, in those countries, plant breeding is primarily public as a support to their farmers. And they know and understand that they must always maintain the means of producing for themselves and having control over their food. Okay? In Ghana, so this, like I said, this issue is not about science. It's about political economy. It's about who controls our food and ultimately controls us. We've handed over large tracts of our economy. We've handed over mining. We've handed over banking. We've handed over telecoms. Okay? We're handing over what is it? Construction. Okay? Now, I insist, we insist that we must maintain control over our food and under no circumstance allow control to pass to foreign interests. Under no circumstance. The Plant Breeders Bill is designed precisely for that purpose, which is why they've inserted that clause and insist that what you read, in fact, I'd like you to read that, because I've heard the ranking member of parliament and the deputy minister of agri say that what you read and what you understand is the opposite of what it is.
I have seen it myself, where the country can't read.
No, but I'd like you, for the purpose of this, to read over it so that people understand what we're about to do.
The variety. What is the danger with that?
Just read it so ordinary people can understand it. I don't want to read. I'd like you to read it so that ordinary people out there.
What I'm saying is that we've been through that before.
No, we haven't.
The plant breeders' rights, which.
Yeah. So what does it say, and what does it mean?
Of
My dear, this can be addressed very simply. I'd like you to read it. I can read it.
Yeah, sure. You can go ahead.
But I'd like you to read it because you are, quote unquote, not biased.
It's fine.
Or partisan in this matter.
It's fine. Since it's your piece, you can go ahead and read it.
The section 23 on measures regulating commerce says, a plant breeder right shall be independent of any measure taken by the Republic to regulate within Ghana the production,
certification and marketing of material of a variety, or the importation or exportation of the material.
I see. The question I'm asking is, what is the danger with that?
You don't see a danger there?
No, I'm just asking. Just share with us what you see as Food Sovereignty Ghana.
Well, I know of no right under our constitution that's not regulated. I know of none. If you know of one, tell me. Now, people are asking Ghanaian lawmakers to pass into law something that includes this section, which ousts the authority of Parliament, which ousts the authority of our President, but which ousts the authority of any institution in Ghana to regulate a right once granted. Why would an intelligent sovereign people do this?
And so this means that once the right is given, government has no power over it anymore.
Nobody in Ghana.
You see, my point is, my point with this, the issue of our scientists is,
this is not science. No, sorry, this is not science.
I understand that. Doc, if you could just allow me to land, I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. Well, you mentioned earlier about the fact that the scientists are using the basis of injury to push...
Alleged injury.
Alleged injury.
Yes, that people are taking the products of, which is public property, outside of Ghana and benefiting from it. Some people are even benefiting from it inside Ghana, and they are not getting rewarded for it. Okay? That is, they are using that as a basis. And so if we are to register, it doesn't become for the scientists. It becomes for the country. Precisely. So this is not the... And if at that point it's a public good, then the country has it, then our farmers can have it as well. We already have it. It's not a matter of dispute. And you know what? All this argument about this detracts us from the real issues that hold back our agriculture. Okay? Now, today, hundreds of thousands of people are being dispossessed and ejected from the land. They are ending up in our towns and our cities. Mostly semi-literate, no skills, ending up as kaye, or having to hawk imported products. So we are destroying agriculture, we are evicting people from the land so that we can hand over the land to foreign investors and their local partners, okay, and creating time bombs in our urban centers. Now, elsewhere in the world, when this process of people moving all the land into cities happened, it happened as a result or as an accompaniment to industrialization. We have urbanization without industrialization. And right before our eyes, we are generating conditions for explosion. I see. So now the real issues that face our farmers, okay, has to do with market access, okay, reflecting the fact that the Ministry of Agriculture estimates that 30% of the food that is grown gets lost to weevils, waste, rot, whatever. Okay? Credit. Security of tenure. Okay? And a voice. So you have a situation where the close to 2 million farm households practically lack a voice in what government does. They are absent. No one has consulted them about this. Instead, there are some people representing that they represent them. If you have to take, just take a, is it box properly you call it? Just go around, ask farmers whether they have any idea about this. Doc, I'm afraid we would have to end the conversation here. Yes. But hopefully some other time would look into this further. We've been talking to Dr. David Percy. He is a member of Food Sovereignty Ghana.
What I'll do is I'll take a quick break. When I return, we'll go back to World Radio Day. I'm glad you could stay on. Today is World Radio Day, and it's used to raise awareness about the importance of radio and facilitate access to information through radio and enhancing network among broadcasters. Over the telephone is Dr. Charles Reku-Brobe. Dr. Charles Reku-Brobe was the first person to set up a private radio station in Ghana. Hello, Doc.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Radio has come a long way, hasn't it?
If you say so. It comes from 1 to 300, very long.
I see. What was radio back then?
Oh, well, if I remember, as recently as 20 years ago, there was a monotony FM station run by GBC, run for 4 hours a day, and then had to shut down because the valves got too hot. And then it was supported by those radio boxes that I'm sure your grandparents told you about. And that was it. But in terms of frequency modulation, which is what FM means, though most people don't understand it, that was what we had, one station. Until we decided that the laws of Ghana permitted us to have more than one station. So that was the beginning.
How about content? How about how radio used to sound back then and now?
Well, radio back then was essentially an arm piece of the government of the day, and it had very little by way of music. There was a lot of pontification. You wouldn't even believe that things like gospel music and religious programming was not there. But clearly no current affairs discussion of the type that we are having now. So it was part of the propaganda arm piece for government, which is essentially what GBC had been set up for by the colonial structure to perpetuate the formation of the government. But in a democracy, if you don't have avenues for divergent views and then public discourse presenting alternative options, then basically whatever radio you have is of no use and no consequences. That doesn't mean that it's gotten better. We have more today, as I said, 300 FM stations. But if you take a typical morning, the radios are all doing the same, the TVs are all doing the same, the discourse is highly partisan and lots of heat and no sense. So more has not necessarily given us the kind of intellectual and intelligent depth we expected. But I would rather have the more with the diversity, and we'll work on the content.
Is 300 radio station a bit too saturate?
Well, you know, I think that the attitude we need to take about all these things is that, you know, everything will find its own level. So if people have got stations and they are simply not making money out of it, and they are just trying to say I'm a radio station owner, then, you know, that's a bad investment. On the other hand, of course, you know, there are a lot of these stations which have been set up as instruments for propaganda. So in a sense, it's like you replicated the situation of 20 years ago several times over. So there is money to keep the noise on the air, but that's not the intent. Is not to be informative, informed, or as you have found with the network you work for, private investment, therefore needing to yield a return on that investment. So that's part of the problem.
What lessons can radio today pick from radio yesterday?
None, absolutely none. I mean, the monotony of one station offered absolutely no lessons. The lesson, well, first of all, what we do have now, which is fantastic, is that if any idiot or Messiah wants to come and save us again through the barrel of a gun, they'll have to do it over 300 times. That's not likely to happen. But what we need to do is to build on the fact that there's diversity and pluralism and improve content. You know, I said to everybody that I have been listening to BBC World Service for 50 years, and every day I learn something new. We shouldn't have a monotony of newspaper, whatever. There is no diversity. Nobody's even doing any proper documentary. We are not learning. We are just doing instant news, instant analysis, instant comments, and beyond today, who's going to worry about how radio started and how it developed? So there's a lot more to do in terms of improving the quality, but still continue to offer diversity and continue to offer a partisan political choice. I don't believe in those who say there's too much politics. Democracy requires the exchange of political ideas, the offering of alternative ideas. So you cannot say we want democracy, but we don't want partisanship. It's tautological. So we should continue to do that, but do it more credibly, make sure that the people are informed so they can make choices as to which particular partisan position best represents their aspirations. So plenty to do on content. During the course of this year, we'll be celebrating 20 years of Radio I, and there'll be a lot of public discourse on broadcasting in Ghana today, and where we've come for all those 20 years.
And so how can we sanitize the airwaves then?
Sanitize, I think it is up to leaders like yourselves and one or two other stations to continue to shine the light on what constitutes good media practice. And when you do, and therefore those who carry the purchasing purse think that this is the kind of thing that is sober, good, reflects what we should be doing, others will come to imitate you. So the message is simply let the good ones continue to set the example, but that means that you need to be very creative as multimedia. You need to find new avenues of bringing new content, of diversifying what you're saying, of continue to produce the kind of quality that let others want to come and push from you as they've done before. I think quality will always shine, but we shouldn't rest on our laurels and think we've done it. We should continue to ask questions about how can we make it better. And as you see that I have taken a very active personal interest and involvement in the media recently, and part of the reason for that is to try to actualize what I believe are the essential elements of good quality informed media. That's what we're trying to do.
Doc, we'll leave our conversation here for now. We look forward to those lectures as well. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much.
Dr. Charles Reku-Brobe joined us as we mark World Radio Day. It's a very important day for him as well, as he is the first person to start a private radio station here in Ghana. Thank you very much for staying through the hour. I have to go already. Thank you for your comments on Facebook as well. They were fantastic. I'll see you at midday on News Today. In the meantime, stay on for CNBC's Power Lunch. Enjoy the rest of our broadcast. Goodbye.